Welcome to the Capstone Conversation, the East Bay's best podcast. Hosted by Jared Asch, bringing you in-depth conversations with the leaders shaping your community.
Today, we are going to be talking about efficiency in government. Government is set up to do things in ways to safeguard fraud, problems, go to the best vendor, look for the best price, and do what's best. But now AI and technology is rapidly changing how government can work, how people can be more efficient at their jobs, and how technology can save money without cutting jobs and offer better customer service. And I know people don't think of government as customer service, but it is, because your service is the citizens out there. I will stop my monologue here and introduce our first two guests from Asignet, Manuel Lopez and Erica Olson from Madison AI are joining us today. Thank you both for joining us.
Hi, Jared.
Thank you, Jared. It's a pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and Madison AI.
I've been made a practice for about the past 20 years doing strategic planning and performance management for all sorts of organizations, but cities and counties and school districts were a core piece of that work. A lot of facilitation of boards, elected officials, building strat plans and managing performance and all that good stuff. And when I realized that generative AI was going to change the way that we work as humans, my immediate thought went to it's absolutely going to help our local governments. About at the end of 2023, I embarked on a project with a couple of our local government clients, with a local county and city of ours. We're based in Reno, Nevada. And really specifically around let's inspire and explore what might be possible with generative AI. What are some of the use cases? What are some of the pain points? What are the headcounts that are coming up for the budget season that might be not need to be added if we're able to use generative AI to help in some of the administrative tasks? Fast forward 2 years later, we have built Madison AI. Madison AI is basically we're building closed internal LLMs for local government. I can unpack that a little bit more, but philosophically and fundamentally, we are taking the compendium of information that is what makes up local government, the 10, 20, 30, 50 years of decisions and policies and code and laws and personal information and all of the things that make up the decision process for local government. And we put that into what is amazing with generative AI. We put it into a dedicated closed system for jurisdictions so that they can AI assist administrative tasks, staff reports, zoning verification letters, budget narratives, all the things that are required to do, but are quite research intensive. But we started with, and we're focused specifically on the idea of satisfied, happy, strong morale with staff makes a great customer service, and great customer service means we have great communities. And our jurisdictions are quite burdened with important but very heavy paperwork. And generative AI can absolutely help with that. A jurisdiction's specific compendium of information to inspire and support the work that's required to adapt policies, help citizens understand what they can build on their properties, so on and so forth. I'll leave it right there, but that's where we are 2 years in. We've got about 45 clients, quite a few actually in the East Bay, in the Bay Area, Sunnyvale, Milpitas, San Leandro, to name a few. And it's exciting to see where it's going, and really driving efficiency is really what the focus is. Jared, I'll pass it back to you because I know you'd like to hear what Manuel's up to as well, and I know we'll unpack it further.
Manuel, you come at this from a tech background and you've worked in Fortune 500 space, but you've identified ways that you could take your technology and make government more efficient. Share a little bit about your background and the company.
Thank you for having me here, Jared. It's a pleasure. First, I run service delivery for Assignnet. Assignnet, we are a technology company that focuses on invoice retrieval and invoice auditing. We sit between our clients, usually enterprise, large organizations. We retrieve all of their invoices and we manage all of their spend, and we validate that every invoice that they pay is validated at the contract level, adheres to the specific tax losses, and we do this all around the world. We grab invoices from any country, any format, any PDF around the world, and we're able to validate it with our AI and with our automation and validate the detail of the invoice. This is very important and very specific. We validate the detail, each billing item. For example, if you have your AT&T invoice yourself, Jared, and you have a 30 gig plan per month, and you have another family member with a 20 gig plan with different rates, we validate each detail, each line of the invoice, and we tie it to a specific line in the contract. Your 30 gig plan is $100 a month and your 20 gig plan is $50. We validate that AT&T is charging you specifically what you agree.
That's great. Why don't you talk, Manuel, about a use case? Because I know you've done some work here in California. Maybe highlight an example of how you've helped the city like review their invoices, their bills, and save some money.
I think it breaks down in three key pillars. The first one is the invoice retrieval process. Cities and enterprises have thousands or hundreds of providers, each with a different portal, each with a different delivery method. Some deliver invoices by paper, some deliver by email, some have a portal where you have people actually going to the portal and retrieving the invoice. We automate all of that. We have our proprietary RPA that is patented here in the US, and our robots go to each portal and retrieve all the invoices. That's the first step in adding efficiency to the process. Currently, AP departments have a lot of problems in retrieving actual invoices, seeing what vendor sent which invoice, if it's late, if it's not late, if it should have been paid 3 days ago or 4 days ago. The first step is getting the invoices in time inside the house. Secondly is validating the actual invoices. Are they charging me what we agreed or are they overcharging me? Is there a problem here in line number 3,400? These are long invoices, usually invoices with more than 100 pages, 200 pages. And we validate each specific detail and we tie everything to the contract. That's the key part of this, right? And we guarantee that the invoice adheres to local tax laws and adheres to the laws of the AP department's process. So each organization has different processes. They want to validate different things. We have all those validations. We have the ability to create all those validations inside of our tool. And we make sure that automatically the second an invoice hits our system gets validated by our artificial intelligence and validated and tied to the contract. We primarily focus on IT spend. We're not limited to it, but we primarily focus on it's our expertise and the area where we have been growing in the last couple of years. For example, you used the example of your wife uses more data than you. Let's say you have a 10 gigabyte plan, but you consistently use 5 every month and you're paying for 10. Our AI learns from that and is able to tell you, hey, Jared, if you decrease, you're using 5 for the last 10 months. We recommend you downturn your plan from a 10 gigabyte to a 5 gigabyte, and that will save you $20. We run those optimizations and we save money for the government, for the cities that work with us, but also for the enterprises. For example, let's say this is a phone that the company gave me and tomorrow I leave the phone. We make sure we connect with the companies and cities Active Directory to know that Manuel owns an iPhone 15 with a plan from Movistar Argentina or from AT&T. So Manuel left the company, that iPhone 15 needs to be disconnected the second Manuel leaves the company so we don't overpay.
I was just going to say, you know what I think is really cool? There's so much opportunity with base level generative AI to take the pattern of a standard, a thing, in this case, the contract, and a comparison against what's occurring in terms of implementation. And this happens to be the invoice. And what's the coolest thing about that is AI does a great job doing that error detection or the comparison detection. For our purposes, we're doing contract creation and reviews against the standard contract. A huge pain point for a lot of procurement officials in cities and counties is, hey, we have these standard terms. They have to be in every contract. The departments end up changing language or terms or phrases or clauses, and we can't have that happen. We end up throwing these cycles into rework, which adds all this staff time, right? But the actual act of using generative AI, it's very purpose-built, and it's doing this very consistent pattern of a thing, that is the standard, the policy, the contract, the legal terminology, and the evaluation against it in second. And quite frankly, the quality is higher. The stuff Manuel's doing is awesome, right? Those are things that people would not catch, probably. Same thing on some of the stuff that we're doing as well. I just think I sometimes call it like low-tech AI, but it's actually very helpful in terms of driving efficiency and helping alleviate a huge administrative work that, quite frankly, jurisdictions don't have time for this, and regular organizations don't either. And enter AI, thank heavens.
And playing off what Erica said, I think we have to think of AI as a force multiplier. It's not here to
Yes.
replace anyone's work. It's here to enhance and add velocity to all of our work. AI is like an electric hammer when we were with a stick and a screw trying to screw something in. I think for us, it's really a force multiplying. And how do we create efficiency and speed in these old processes that are very manual, very human dependent, that have hundreds and hundreds of hours of people that could be doing more proactive work or more efficient work.
More interesting work.
More interesting work. Yeah, that's the word I'm thinking. More interesting work and more added value work, right? Than just checking an invoice and matching it with the contract and doing that every day for all the 8 hours in the shift. And I think AI is just an enhancement tool. It's not that the person that's validating will disappear. It's that person will go from being able to validate, let's say, 20 invoices a day to 200.
One of the examples when we were talking earlier that you have, which I think simplified it all, is a city could have, let's say, 50 Zoom accounts.
Yeah.
But maybe 8 belong to people who no longer work there, or 12 aren't being used. How can the AI review all of that and reduce your spend on something simple and cut down how many Zoom licenses or Microsoft licenses that you have to save a city money and make it more efficient?
Here are some of the key benefits. And let's go specifically to SaaS licenses. Let's use Zoom as an example. Zoom probably has an API where you can get usage data, you can get the invoices, and you can have all the data of the people that are using your solution. How many seats, when was the last activity date for Manuel, when was the last activity date for Erica, how many times Erica has logged in, and so on. But some SaaS portals don't have that. They don't have a functioning API, or the API breaks consistently. It's not the best scenario to have that information. That's where our RPA and our automation enters the scene. Our RPA is able to go to the portal of SaaS license 1 or Zoom and see that data that is already in the portal, replicate that workflow that a human being is actually doing. Instead of myself having to enter zoom.com and saying, hey, I have to go to the administration, usage, our robot is able to track, enter, automate all of that and retrieve that data. Once you have the data, it's just connecting it to the Active Directory, saying, hey, Manuel had this seat in Zoom and his last activity was 3 months ago. Manuel is still employed, but he has not been using this license. Okay, that's a recommendation for the manager. Hey, Mr. Manager, Jared, for example, Manuel has not used his Zoom licenses for 3 months. What's going on there? Do you want to downturn it and save the $20 it cost a month? Or Manuel has left and that Zoom license is still tied to Manuel. You should remove it. Now you have three or 5 empty seats in your license. Do you want to cancel those seats to pay less? Or maybe you want to keep those seats, and that's a human decision of a manager that understands the situation. The AI won't be able to pull the full automation and run the decision. It has to be approved by a human being. We call it the human in the loop process, and say, no, I want to keep these 5 seats because I know next week we are going to have 5 new employees that are going to take those seats. Or no, actually, we don't have those 5 employees. Let's save the money and then get them later.
Yeah. And Erica, I'm going to come to you. There's something you said that resonated, a conversation I had last night. I sit on as a volunteer, the Walnut Creek Transportation Commission, was telling me for every commission meeting we do, and there's 6 budgeted in the course of a year, it meets every other month. It takes him a week's worth of time to prepare the PowerPoint presentations, the staff reports, write the agenda, do the follow-up minutes and everything else. That's a week of staff time. I know you've got something in your brain that you're working on there. Help us on that.
You know what? We just such a big so I'm going to go deep and then come back out on this. But our origin story was the notion of using generative AI to draft the background section of a staff report. We look at staff reports and we say the word staff reports, and it's super underpowered. It sounds very lame, actually. But it actually is a board briefing, right? The purpose of the staff report is to provide to an elected official, a volunteer, or anybody else that's on the board who's responsible for making a decision. Hey, here's all the other stuff that's happened related to this subject. And staff is coming forward recommending this particular change, this addition, whatever it happens to be, right? But in order to make that informed decision, the elected official needs to know what's the other stuff we've done on this particular topic. That is a very hard thing to answer. The answer to that question lives across all sorts of different documentation within a jurisdiction. That's where we started our work, which was this idea of let's put into a data lake, into a data brain, all of the 10, 20, 30, 50 years of policy decisions that have been made. It so happens that information is in minutes. And the coolest thing about local government is the unstructured data, also known as files, actually contains the historical and institutional knowledge that makes up the running of that organization. That is not, businesses do not have that, right? Like for my business, I don't really care what happened 5 years ago. That's not super interesting to me. But for cities and counties and transportation commissions, it's actually very important. The way in which we do that today is a keyword search in files, and then you hope that all the minutes come up, and then you got to go through the documents, you got to pull out the stuff, and then you make your background section. Or you walk down the hall to the person that's been there for 25 years and you say, hey, do you remember the last time we took action on XYZ ABC? Can you give me a quick summary of that? So we created and we pulled together all of the information, all the authoritative documents that make up the decisions of an agency, and put it into a place that AI can read it. And we built very specific agents that retrieve that information with traceability. That's really important so that when you pull up that background section on whatever that topic is, I always love ADUs, you have the past 20 years of decisions and votes and code and conversation and public comment about that. Now, all of a sudden, that staff report comes together in 30 minutes instead of 5 hours. We extended that and we created what I call a public meeting notebook. If you think about Notebook LM, which we all love, Notebook LM is very contained with information and outputs. We have a notebook for every single public meeting. We ingest the public meeting packet, the agenda packet. We parse it out and create smart summaries. We enable every single agenda item has previous vote history on the click of a button. We've audioized that agenda packet so you can listen to it while you're driving around. And then right after the meeting, we grab the transcripts. We do a ton of cleanup on the transcripts, and we create AI drafted minutes, in air quotes, because minutes are very important to be accurate. Human in the loop, super important. Quick meeting recap, vote summary, etc. Really super purpose built. That's one of the assistants that we have as a public meeting notebook or assistant. That's just an example. We're extending that same pattern into public records requests as well as procurement and all the planning and zoning as well. That hits our elected officials. It hits our executive staff. It was a really interesting comment that somebody made to me that generative AI is one of the first technologies that is very executive first oriented. If we give time back to our executives, that enables them to lead our organizations better instead of sitting behind their desks hammering out staff reports. That's really what our focus has been: executive staff, elected officials, and management analysts to help enable the management of cities and counties. And the public meeting process is like the heartbeat of an agency. It's super important, super time intensive, and we need to get it right. And generative AI can help when it's done right. And Jared, that's just an example of kind of like how we're saving time for agencies.
I think what resonates what Erica is saying is adding the efficiency to the process and getting those the report time down, right? I think for us, it's the same process, but just for the AP approval process, right? How do we get invoices in the system, and how do we get them to be approved as quickly as possible? That helps us avoid late fees, and that helps us, and first of all, make the process more efficient in validating and making sure and being able to go to sleep at night knowing that what you're paying is actually what you have agreed, no? And I think AI is a force multiplier in that. And I think also it's very important to know that these tedious workflows that are everywhere, not only in the AP department or in the report building like Eric gets, every single aspect of government or enterprises as well can be improved and can be multiplied with AI or with an AI partner. I think for me, the key, what I want to emphasize and adding to what Erica said, is this: AI is not here to replace the public servant or to replace the person that is actually doing the AP work. It's here. It can do the repetitive manual works that everyone can do and leave the human work that only the humans and the AI cannot do, that the judgment, the empathy, and the accountability, and the hard decisions, and the inference on those decisions to the humans, adding time so the humans can do what humans do best.
I think our mission is really all about helping local governments use our tax dollars as efficiently and effectively as possible. And while the governance process and the invoicing processes are very core to the operations of organizations, it is perfect to apply AI in processes that are required, but also can be done with agents. And I think that's another thing we get a little bit scared about because it feels very black boxy. And I think it's important, clearly us as well. We're building purpose-built, very intentional agents, indexes, LLMs. They're closed, they're secure, they're built to not hallucinate, they're built with error checks. And there's a lot of kind of work we are doing, and it sounds like Manuel is doing as well, to make sure that our product meets the standard that's requirement for government security and fidelity of data. Adding to that, we started in a place that's like low risk. Honestly, the current state of affairs, the current way of doing the work that we're doing, staff reports, zoning verification letters, public records request fulfillment, it's very laborious, very low quality, very subject to the human knowledge of that person. If they leave, that institutional knowledge goes away. And anything that we can do to raise the quality as well as reduce the paperwork, we all win. So we started with the non-scary stuff, meaning like nobody really wants to do it anyways. So let's help.
I want to come to a phrase you've both said, the human in the loop.
Cities are concerned about AI taking over jobs, fueled by companies in the Bay Area such as
Workday, Oracle, Salesforce, they've all replaced certain jobs with AI. But cities, I think we're talking about different things. We're talking about making them more efficient, keeping those humans in the loop, not replacing them. Can you guys hit on that concern about the job loss of AI and where cities may be hesitant to deploy these efficient moves to save time?
For me, it's the AI replacing the humans and the job loss that comes with AI. I don't think, at least on the type of AI we are implementing here in the AP process, and I'm going to speak specifically to my industry and what I know, right? I don't want to go too broader because I understand that in some other industries, AI will replace some jobs, or it will reconvert some jobs into others, and those jobs will be taken over by AI 100%, and the people that did those jobs will be reconverted to do something else, something more productive, I would say, something more going back to the human in the loop, right, Jared, something that where humans add extra value that AI cannot do. But for me, it's all about, like I mentioned before, it's just a force multiplier, right? The AP department, in our experience, doesn't have to just approve invoices and validate invoices, right? Each invoice has a different format. Each vendor has a different retrieval for the invoice. The complexity of the nature of the AP process is what adds time to the process. But the AP department can be doing other things, can be doing budgets, it can be doing forecasting, it can be doing what actually we do with the money saved, where do we deploy capital best, where we can remove capital to apply capital to another enterprise. For me, it's that, right? The human in the loop is always going to be there. The AP department is not going to disappear. They still have to do the manual check of actually approving the invoices, sending the money, and all of those processes. For me, it's just how do we enhance the time? How do we give the AP department time back so that they can do what they do best? And that's what government and unions need to understand is we want to bring back time and freedom to the AP department, free up hours so they can do what they do best.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We've been speaking a lot on this topic, and I think there's a lot of concern, certainly from the union side, but also a legitimate concern about losing the craft. And where AI is in this particular case, possibly writing the staff report to such a degree and such a level of accuracy and quality that the upcoming generation doesn't have the craft to produce that output. And I think it's going to be like incumbent upon all of us to figure out how we shift how we work to working with assistants and with AI assistants. And I think the engineering, the world of engineering is like the canary in the coal mine. If you're not co-coding with an AI assistant, you probably don't have a job because your production is not where it needs to be. I think that reskilling is so important. I also think it is a bit of I think we're fooling ourselves if we say that 5 years from now, we won't see a different workforce than we see today in our local jurisdictions. Adding to that, the tax situation and the budget situation facing cities and counties right now is not pretty. We all know what's going on at the federal government level. And so let's get really serious about the fact as we're rolling into this next budget cycle. There is not a single client we're working with right now that's feeling spacious about their budget. Spend a little bit of money, get some AI assistance in place, whether it's finding dollars like Manuel is doing and also driving efficiency with the AP process, or doing what we're doing, which is actually just helping AI assistant on the administrative tasks and duties. Like, we have to do something because the field level services that are required to support our communities, those budgets are not growing, they're shrinking. And quite frankly, anything we can do to shift frontline work and the back office work to the front office work to serve citizens in need on at the front desk or on the streets is what it's going to take. And we should stop being scared of it. We should start saying, what do we need to do to support our communities? And how can we do that the best that we can with the technology that's available? I think that's the mandate. And the tax bases aren't growing, period.
Yeah, sorry, Jared, I want to comment on two things that Erica said. First is you mentioned that the workforce environment will be completely different in 5 years in time. But I think when people hear that, the first reaction is to get scared, saying, hey, we're going to have high unemployment. Everyone's going to stay home. And for me, it's not that shift. People are going to be doing different jobs. Some jobs
Totally
will be
agree.
obsolete, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that the person that was doing that job is going to be unemployed. This is very similar for me. AI and the AI trend is not so comparative to what internet was 20 to 30 years ago, but I want to go further back in time to the Industrial Revolution and when people moved from farming to the factories. I don't want to mess the dates around, right? But I think it was late 1800s to early 1900s. Something like 70% of the labor was in farming, and 10 to 20 years later, it went down to 10 to 6%. So I think, but it wasn't that we had 80% unemployment back then. And it is not, and history has a way of not repeating itself, but rhyming, no? And I think for me, that's the key. There will be new jobs that people are not seeing, human in the loop processes that are people not seeing, co-working with AI, that will create new jobs and new opportunities for people, but some jobs will be left obsolete. I completely agree that the workforce landscape is going to be completely different in 5 years, but that doesn't mean we're going to have high unemployment rates or less jobs.
But I do
No,
actually
of
think
course.
the human ingenuity, like, it is the response. I think this is super important too. Like, particularly when we think about the union perspective and we think about like our own jobs and our own businesses, like, it is the responsibility of the individual to figure it out. We need to help our organizations, help our leaders change, upskill ourselves. When we went from farming to the industrial revolution, people had to learn new skills and learn new jobs. And in some cases, like, change themselves. I think that's really important to really think about, like, how do we together learn the new world? Because it's here, it's coming, it's going to change. Let's get excited about it. Let's be smart about it. Let's be safe about it. Let's use tools that are built with the safeguards and the security around it. But let's also acknowledge we need to change because our communities need us to change. Really, like, for real. Like, it's not pretty out there. And it's the mandate of our cities and counties to take care of the least of us and to do everything we can to make sure that our tax dollars make thriving communities. And AI is here to help us get out of the 20 years of dumb paperwork that we created for ourselves.
I think this is very potent for a lot of city leaders, because when I talk to city leaders, everybody's interested in it, but they are so slow to move and they won't even take meetings. Santa Clara County, as an example, will not take a meeting to learn about new technology unless it is something they have an existing procurement about. How do you learn or embrace new technology if you won't actually take a meeting and have a conversation?
By the way, this is what I do at Capstone Government Affairs. I help companies connect and navigate the government sales cycle.
Companies sell into government. Erica, I know you're dying to chime in.
Oh my God, I
Yeah.
love that. And Manuel, I know you have thoughts on that. I'll be super brief. Here, we're Sunny knows one of our clients, and they got out of that conundrum by having a very small innovation budget. We're doing a pilot with them. The CIO was awesome. Let's just try it. Is it perfect? Have we like knocked it out of the park? We haven't. Are we trying? Are we co-developing? We absolutely are. But for heaven's sakes, just try. It's not taking any staff, it's taking a little bit of staff time, but not that much staff time. And the current state, but if we don't try, then we'll never see that there's possibilities to do something different. And Jared, I'm right there with you. We can raise a coffee glass together on that one because it frustrates me as well. And some of our leading jurisdictions in the Bay Area are like doing this. And I don't know what the deal is. Manuel, jump in.
Yeah, I'm not from the Bay Area. I live in Latin America. I was born in Argentina. I don't know the situation there, but I can say governments everywhere have this more reactive than proactive. And I think there are three key things that we were talking about. First, budget, right? Budgets are tight. It's harder to try new things when you have to spend money. That's where the AI wave and companies like listening to what you say, Eric, I can infer that you do similar to us. For example, Assigned, we offer free POCs. We say, come test the technology, give us a few vendors, give us a few invoices, and we show you what we will find. We'll save you money for free. Let's try 2-3 vendors. Give me AT&T, give me Verizon, and 2 size licenses. Give me your Active Directory, a few invoice portals. I can show you how I retrieve the invoices quicker, how we validate it, and how you find savings. Because it's not that Verizon is trying or any other carrier is trying to steal money from you. They have errors in their processes as well as everyone, as any human process has errors. I would say, try it out, come do a free POC, try the processes, take low risk decisions that will give you huge rewards. I can guarantee you the ROI on our solution is multiple times what you're going to pay, and you can try it for free. For me, that's the key. Take the risk, take the small risk of trying something for free, be proactive, and take the solutions and listen to what's out there. There are a lot of tools, there are a lot of solutions, there are a lot of people working on these tools that are ready to step in. And I think, Erica, going back to what you said before, so this is something that needs to be co-developed with the cities, with the municipalities, with the government.
Yeah.
I work for enterprises. Mostly we have a few government clients, but enterprise is 99% of our clientele. And we work with those enterprises because I'm not an expert in tax law in Slovenia, for example. But my client that has been working in Slovenia for the last 20 years is an expert and knows what we need to validate. So I can create a tool for them to validate that specifically. Same thing for governments. Maybe they want to validate something in the invoice or in their licenses that I'm not aware it exists, but they need to communicate that to me and we can build the solution together and find the processes. They do these workflows consistently, manually every day for the last couple of years. They need to tell us their pain points and communicate that so we can improve it. And I think that's the key on all of this. And that's what will allow cities to have extra leeway on investing on what really matters. Finding these cheap solutions, because technology is becoming cheaper and cheaper every day, and AI is going to be cheaper in the next year and so on. Take the money, improve the processes, and invest where it really matters.
Erica, I want you to pick up there on risk because you've done government management consulting. Government's scared of risks, right? There's an old adage with technology and government. I'm going to go with IBM because that's the safe bet and I can't get fired for using IBM. Talk about that risk. Talk about the younger staff and attracting them and engaging them on these tools.
For sure. I think and this just picks up too on Manuel, what you were talking about too. I think the concern right now is there's a lot of vaporware. There's a lot of like, how does this work exactly? And the CIOs, and bless their hearts, like some CIOs are super tech and others are a little bit like, hey man, I'm managing like a huge portfolio. I'm not under the hood on this stuff. And so there's a concern about the black box, right? And I think that what's really awesome right now is the industry is starting to gel, right? We're seeing the big players start to like solidify in terms of like, how does it actually work? How does ChatGPT and OpenAI actually work? What we did is we de-risked it by saying, we are working just in a Microsoft environment. 90% of jurisdictions work in Microsoft. We work specifically in the Microsoft environment. The coolest thing Microsoft did is by 49% of OpenAI, they could actually have a dedicated, closed, managed large language model in their tenants so they could manage risk and say, we're going to be able to build stuff for the federal government, state and local. And we're building in that environment to de-risk concerns about data loss prevention, all of those things, part one. Part two is the other way that we reduce the risk is it is the case that jurisdictions trade in publicly available information. Pretty much everything is everything's public records requestable, no doubt about it. But that notwithstanding, the public record is actually good, clean, available, and it's not full of PII in case anybody wants to know. So let's just take that down like 5 notches and say, the value of being able to work with information that is actually already publicly available in a safe, contained manner in the Microsoft environment that is closed and dedicated using OpenAI, the risk is, I don't know what the risk is actually. And so the risk is like doing it the old way, which is wasting a ton of time. So that's how we de-risked it.
It's important. And as somebody who knows procurement law, not as an attorney, there is nothing illegal for taking meetings with companies to learn about new technology. And I want to emphasize that for all the agencies out there that say we can't take a meeting with a vendor, only 5% of city staff is regularly attending conferences like the League of Cities, a city managers forum, a public works thing. You have to educate your people and learn about these new technologies. I just want to emphasize, take meeting, learn. I'm not saying buy everything, but just embrace this concept of learn, educate yourself about the new technologies, the use cases. Before we head out, I'm going to ask each of you to share a use case. Manuel, you want to go first on that one?
I will stick to what I know best. For me, is efficiency and control and visibility. And those are the three key pillars of our technology, right? Is Erica previously was mentioning that some CIOs are overwhelmed by the amount of assets they need to manage and the amount of teams they need to manage. For us, it's give me the invoices, I bill you your technology inventory. You know that in CTA or in municipality A or in building ABC, you have this amount of Zoom licenses, this amount of cell phones, this amount of fiber optic cables going into the building, what you own. Visibility is the key aspect of this. Knowing what you own is one of the key pillars. But secondly is knowing what you're paying for, right? And actually making sure that what you're paying is what you agreed and you're not overpaying. And third is the optimization aspect of all of this, that AI does a great job in helping us support this is, hey, can I pay a little bit less? Where can I save money? Where can I free budget? I know that I'm not paying Manuel's phone that he left 3 years ago. And that happens a lot. We have this phrase that we always say, we can guarantee that at least 18% of what you're paying is either wrongly billed and you can do a cost avoidance process, or you can generate extra savings because it can be optimized. The GL allocation process of all these expenses is also a key aspect of this. So what department is using what? Manuel's phone is from the marketing department or the operations department in Assignет specifically. What's the budget for the operations department? Is everything allocated to operations where actually Erica's phone should be allocated or Zoom license should be allocated to a different DL code, and having that visibility and that traceability as well. Efficiency, and being an AI being a force multiplier of the work. Find manual, tedious process and workflows that people are doing inside governance right now, and we can apply AI. Specifically for us, it's the AP department. We can guarantee that everything that you pay has been tied to a contract. But yeah, efficiency.
Erica, take us out. What's your AI tip for people today?
My AI tip for everybody is understand what's happening behind the prompt box. So that's a really important thing as we're working in this notion of enterprise search and using AI to access the knowledge of an organization. What's really going to matter as we move forward is the understanding, the traceability, the confidence, the accuracy, the completeness of the stuff that's happening behind the prompt box. And we do that through all kinds of fancy terms that are benchmarks and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, I always say when you're using an AI tool, particularly when it's feeding and supporting important things like staff report writing, zoning verification letters, budget narratives, that sort of stuff, either which way, you know when the data's not right, you know when it missed a vote, when things got crossed up. And that's unacceptable. And so when local jurisdictions are looking for solutions to help AI assist administrative tasks, it really matters to understand what's happening behind the prompt box and understand what's fueling the actual generative AI engine behind the scenes. And it's important for leaders, technologists, and executives just to ask the question, because if you ask the question, then we can understand how to make the tool or any AI solution, quite frankly, work at the level of credibility and expectations that we have when we're running cities and counties. That's my tip. My tip is understanding what's happening behind the hood. Maybe not get the zeros and ones, but just a little bit, right? AI is very much all about data. Understand what's feeding that AI tool, and then just try. Because by the way, FYI, it will fail. Have a little bit of grace because the current way of doing things sucks. So AI can absolutely help. And let's try and experiment and work together, because where this is going is going to be awesome. And it will change how cities and counties work for the good.
How do people learn more about you?
Yeah.
Manuel?
For Assigned, you can reach me out in LinkedIn, Manuel Lopez Masota, or go to our page, assigned.com. There's a filling form when you can learn more. And like I said before, we always say, don't believe a word I'm saying. See the proof in the pudding. Test our system. We do free POCs. Give us a few data points. We can do a demo as well, but we do free POCs. Test it with your own data. See how much money you will be saving, and contact us. So assigned.com, reach us out, or my LinkedIn page.
Thanks.
Totally. MadisonAI.com. My LinkedIn page is also Erica Olson, as it's spelled any way you want. It normally comes up. We also would encourage, we've got a lot of folks in the East Bay that are customers of ours. There's a lot of people that are doing really cool stuff. Don't be left behind, because there's a better way to do things. So reach out. We're happy to share. We're always happy to share. We do case studies every first and third Thursday. If you hop onto the MadisonAI.com website, we have a thing called AI in Action, where we're sharing what local jurisdictions are doing. Just come in. We are all about sharing. And Jared, I know that's what you're up to too. Thanks for making the space for this, because this is how we're all going to evolve together. I welcome continuing the conversation.
Thank you both.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Capstone Conversation. Don't forget to subscribe and follow Jared Asch and Capstone Government Affairs on LinkedIn. Leave us a review and share this episode with a friend.